What? Wait. What? That's just like rude. It's rude. I don't even know how anybody does that. I have no clue. Okay, and now for the highly requested Lalah Hathaway. Let's just get right into it. Ooh, yeah. The runs are beautiful. I just want to, I've been working with a lot of my students on their breaks. It's a very common thing to try and work on. This is a lovely example of, like, let your voice do what it's going to do. Right? That's like super low to kind of the mix. Kind of like a head voice to kind of like a super nice like little falsetto thing right there. It's lovely. Just let your voice do what it's gonna do. When you're in a practice mindset, be in a discovery and curiosity mindset. Don't try to impose your will on your voice, because it'll never work. Oh, snap. Okay. Woo. So that is some really nice scatting. These aren't just like scales that she's running. Like there's a sense of rhythm to it. And then also she's doing like really cool arpeggios, right? And highlighting things like the 9th and the 7th and things that like instrumentalists usually highlight. She's not just throwing in scales. These are really intelligent like arpeggios and outlined chords, right? This is really cool. The girl in the back going, oh my god. Totally get it though. Yes. Oh, come on now. Okay, we got like Charlie Parker on voice. What? Oh, those are delicious. That's so good. It's moments like this where I'm like, that's rude. That's rude, okay? Because that's making me feel self-conscious, as it should. Like, what? Oh, okay, beautiful lesson in repetition. All right, blues musicians do this better than like anybody, and it's just using repetition to give emphasis. But you're like, this is still a musical phrase with a destination and a journey, right? Like even though it's repetition. Oh. That's filthy. So I've studied jazz guitar, okay? I've studied jazz guitar, and this stuff is hard musically to kind of like wrap your mind around. It's really difficult because you can't just do like in pop music, you're given a chord, right? You're given a series of chords, and usually one scale fits over everything, right? Maybe every once in a while you get like what's called a secondary dominant, just like a temporary change in key, and you have to change like one note in the scale or whatever, right? But this is real jazz. So this is a comping chord progression of things that are not necessarily in one key, and she has to navigate basically each individual chord and understand what her options are musically. This is totally 100% flexing musical chops, and it's ridiculous. And once again, it's incredibly rude. Nice. I don't know who Dennis is, but he damn well better answer to that one. Nice. Okay, backup singer. Yes. So it's one thing, it's really, this is, again, so we're talking a lot about, you know, like musical decision making, right? And the difficult thing here is it's one thing to understand what your note options are, right? Like that's impressive, like, but that's kind of like just a logical puzzle, right? What makes it impressive is that they're accomplishing the logical puzzle while delivering incredible phrasing, like genuinely good music. And it's one thing to understand that, like, over a 5 chord, like, you know, like if we're doing something like, no, let's just make it easy on me. Like we're doing like this. I know I have this option, like, like I can do that over a 5 chord. And then, you know, it's one thing to know that, but then to comfortably make music with it, that's really, really something. I have so much practicing to do, it's ridiculous. Like, no. Ooh. Okay, so there's a technical reason why this is incredibly impressive. Okay, so falsetto. What is falsetto? Falsetto is when you pop open, your folds basically pop open, right? There's too much air pressure for them to continue closing. And there are ways you can fight against that if you want to keep like a really powerful sound when you're going up, right? But when you're in falsetto, what happens is that the breath pressure makes your folds flip. And so it's just the kind of the edges of the folds that are oscillating. And there's a lot of air passing through, which is what gives it that fluty, airy tone. Right? Now, the problem with falsetto, and you even hear me struggling with it because I don't use it that much, but the thing that makes falsetto very, very, very difficult is breath control, right? So, like right here, if I am like, if I'm doing falsetto, like I can't have bad posture because so much air releases because there's no closure in the vocal folds. So much air is released. And now that's why you have to really be careful about letting out just very little air, because otherwise your phrase is going to last not very long. It's going to get away from you. It's really, really tough. But anyway. So I want to just like, let's take another listen to this incredible singer and how they're negotiating falsetto. Ooh. I was here to talk about falsetto, but we can talk about those lows. Because what the heck? What? That's rude. Okay, hold on. Let's go over this again with the falsetto, and then we'll talk about the lows. Because that's silly. This rhythm is incredible too. So, like, yeah, when you're phrasing with this falsetto stuff, you have to be incredibly precise about when you take another breath, because you'll need to do it way more often when you're singing in falsetto. And this rhythmic little juiciness that he's giving us, these like little rhythmic motifs, are not only giving them time to breathe, but they're incredibly musical. And I've got something to come in, Laylah. I love this. And so everyone who wants to work on their lows, there's a point where you're going in the lower part of your range and you're going to lose power. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to try and force more power out, because it's going to go flat or sharp, and it's just not going to work well for you. You're going to be off the pitch and the tone is going to suffer. If you're in a low enough part of your voice, your ability to project that sound is going to go away. Now, one of the cool things you can do with that natural happening phenomena is you can tie off a phrase, just exactly like this guy did here. Right? That's really cool. And that, man, the audience showing love as they should. Nice. The choice of vowels here is incredibly deliberate too. This is really cool. So if you're going to use different vowels when you're like scatting and singing, it's really important that we understand the different tonal qualities of every vowel, right? Ooh is very soft and smooth, but what she's doing when she gets into that top of that phrase is very different. She's giving us a lot more of an ah at the top, and that's going to be very different. So if I'm on top and I'm going ooh, right on an ooh vowel, that's very different than ah, right? Like you can get this brightness and this edginess, and she's using both to kind of deliver kind of an epic moment and another smooth moment, one after the other. Right? In the same phrase. That's so cool. I didn't realize she's basically calling out her singers. So the last one was Dennis and this is Jason. I'm here for this. Well, damn. So it's like, okay, so like I practice piano, I practice guitar, I practice beatboxing because I want to do a cappella. Are you telling me I'm going to have to practice whistling now because I suck at this? This is so smooth too. Usually when people whistle into a microphone, it sounds like death to my ears, but this is wonderful. Wonder if there's EQ or maybe he's just really good at it. That's messed up. There's something here that I want to point out. It's just this little moment. There's a tool that I try to give people, and it's called the area epiglottic sphincter. And it doesn't sound very good by itself in isolation. I'll let you be the judge of that. That's the area epiglottic sphincter by itself. But when we combine it with other things, we can get really cool effects like there. Little, like it's just a smidgen of area epiglottic sphincter and a nice bright vowel. We get from, it's intelligent phrasing too, because we're going from this smooth whistle, this really smooth whistle, and then he's like humming, and down that vowel. And just the way he's using his lips here too. And I don't think anyone's like consciously deliberately doing this, but it's like, it's fun to point out because it gives you all something to play with. Watch how he's going to tighten his lips, or like let it, brighten a little bit and then bring it closer, and watch how that affects the tone. Right? I think that's incredible. The amount of breath control that takes is actually ludicrous. You have to, one quick test you can do to see if you're kind of like not anywhere close to that. This test is not enough by itself, but if you're just getting started, this is a great one. 2 fingers right in front of your mouth and start singing. And if you feel there's breath pressure, any breath pressure, even when you hit your consonants, and I'm singing, right? If you feel breath pressure on these two fingers, you're putting too much air behind the sound, and you will never be able to go do-da-da, like all this crazy stuff that you're hearing. That's not enough, that one exercise, but if you're just getting started, that's a great one. I encourage you to do it. It makes dramatic results for people. Nice. So y'all got to practice your scales or practice mimicking runs. And if you actually have the patience for the latter is way better. If you practice scales a bunch, that's cool. That's fine. That's dandy. But nothing is a replacement for doing what jazz musicians do, which is actually transcribe solos. They will sit there, they will listen, and they will try to play back what they hear. And so if you're doing that as a singer and you're seeing these notes and you're pausing and you're trying to mimic, that's a great way to practice. What? 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 Okay. Hold on. Okay. She just sang two notes at the same time. Thank you for that little throwback. Oh, I got that two notes moment. What the heck? Okay, there's only one way that I know this happens, and I'll try to my best to explain it. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna try this in MS Paint real quick. So you're gonna have to be patient with my drawing skills. Okay. Okay, so these are their vocal folds, right? Okay, when they come together, they oscillate and they move to create pitches. Okay, so when they're together, they will like move against each other like that, right? So one of the ways you can get two pitches at the same time is actually through a vocal polyp or nodule, which is a result of callus buildup, in the same way that if you're like, if you're a guitar player, right, you get a callus on your fingers, right? Well, if you're rough with your vocal folds, you can do the same thing with the vocal folds. I don't recommend doing this, by the way. This is legitimately vocal damage. Now, I'm not sure if this is how Lalah Hathaway has done it, where she has this, but as far as I understand it, if it's this way, where you have this polyp, this buildup of dead skin, I don't think you can control it. So this is probably not how Lalah Hathaway does it, but this is the only way I know how this happens, right? So you have this little polyp here, okay? And what happens when you have that polyp is it's like putting your finger on a guitar string, except both sides are amplified, right? The string over here is going to make its own sound if you pluck it, and the string over here is going to make its own sound if you pluck it, right? So if the folds come together here on this little nodule, like this, you're going to get two different frequencies at the same time. You're going to get the one up here, and then the one up here, or the one down here, right? And so then these will be two different frequencies. Never heard of any instance where you can control the different frequencies against the polyp to make it harmonize. I've never heard of that ever in my life. I have no idea how Lalah Hathaway does it. But that is traditionally, when you hear that sound, it's basically a sign of vocal damage. But again, these aren't usually two pitches that are harmonizing. Like that she can control this is unheard of. I've never seen this in my life. This is crazy. Yeah. You heard that. I love it. This is what I miss about like just live performances in this day and age, right? Like I love that in a live show, like people have the patience for this versus like a Spotify recording or usually even a YouTube video. But it's where a lot of like you get the best musicianship stuff, right? This is classic jazz where they hand off solos, and I've just never seen it to where they hand off solos to different vocalists. I think that's really cool. Oh, this is great. There's so much good singing going on in this performance. I'm gonna stop it here, but I highly recommend that folks go watch this, like the actual original video, because this stuff is nuts. Wow.